Hello and welcome. This is the news on Haske Tv with me, Christiana Babayo. We sincerely apologize for starting the news behind schedule. First, the headlines. Federal government proposes establishment of exam malpractice tribunal. National Assembly to review Electoral Act to curb defections. Plus, the FCC slams Emefiele with fresh charges over 753 Abuja housing units. And now the news in details. The federal government has proposed the establishment of National Examination Malpractice Courts for prompt prosecution of examination infractions to serve as deterrent to others. The Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, said this in Abuja while receiving a committee report on improvement of quality examinations. Affirming the recommendations of the 17-man committee headed by Professor Ishaq Oluyede, Registrar Joint Administrations and Matriculations Board (JAM), the minister said it would improve the quality of examinations in the country. Alausa assured the committee members that all the 12-point recommendations would be implemented, noting that the government would deploy all its machineries to fight the menace of exam malpractice. In our next report, the National Assembly on Friday pledged to swiftly amend the Electoral Act to curb the growing trend of defections by governors and lawmakers who abandon their parties for other political platforms without vacating their elective seats. The clerk of the National Assembly, Kamoru Ogunlana, reaffirmed the legislature's commitment at a symposium in Abuja held in honor of the Director General of the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies. Our correspondent Farida Sanusi Abubakar reports.
Ogunlana was reacting to an earlier appeal by the executive director of Yaga Africa, Samson Itodo, for lawmakers to urgently amend the Electoral Act to halt the gale of defections by public office holders, which he described as a threat to Nigerians' democratic integrity. His remarks come amid a wave of defections from opposition parties to the ruling All Progressive Congress, which he warns could significantly alter the political landscape ahead of the 2027 general elections. Citing a recent example, Itodo noted that on April 23rd, Delta State Governor Sharif defected to the APC, effectively collapsing the state's People Democratic Party structure and taking along PDP's 2023 vice presidential candidate Ifeanyi Okowa. Similarly, several opposition lawmakers from the PDP, Labour Party, and New Nigerian People's Party have also crossed over the ruling party. The clerk noted the strategic importance of the NIL's Director General's role and pledged continued collaboration to support legislative reforms. Farida Sanusi Abubakar, Haske News.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has filed fresh charges against the embattled former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. The charges filed before a high court of the Federal Capital Territory in Abuja alleged that Emefiele unlawfully acquired a housing estate comprising 753 units and allegedly stole and controlled billions of naira in proxy accounts. Once again, Farida Sanusi Abubakar reports.
The EFCC in the charge marked CR 350/25 and dated Friday, May 30th, 2025, accused Emefiele of colluding with one Eric Ocheme, who is reportedly at large, to acquire the property and monies. The property is stated to be located at plot 109, Cadastral Zone C09, Local Goma District, FCT, Abuja, spans 150,462.86 square meters and comprises 753 housing units. The EFCC previously recovered the estate from an unnamed former senior government official and obtained a forfeiture order on the property from the Federal Capital Territory High Court in Apo, Abuja. Emefiele, through his lawyer A.M. Kotoye, son, filed a motion as an interested party in the case. The court in its judgment, however, dismissed Emefiele's motion. Dissatisfied, he appealed the decision at the Court of Appeal in Abuja, seeking to overturn the High Court's forfeiture order. The estate has now been handed over to the federal government, which has disclosed plan to sell it to low and middle-income Nigerians. Emefiele, however, filed a notice of injunction urging the government to refrain from taking further action on the property until his appeal is heard. The EFCC, in an 8-count charge naming Emefiele as the sole defendant, alleges that he knowingly controls property reasonably suspected to have been unlawfully acquired. The charges also claim violations under Section 319A of the Penal Code Law, Cap 89, Laws of the Federation, 1990. Farida Sanusi Abubakar, Haske
The
News.
Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center has called for accountability and transparency in the energy transition process in Nigeria to achieve carbon neutrality by the year 2060. It also recommended tax incentives for investors in the clean energy sector as a way of encouragement, and that stakeholders should always demand openness and investigation in the transition process. These were some of the recommendations reached at the end of a one-day training on fossil phase-out advocacy held in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State on Friday with the theme "Using the Instrumentality of Taxation for Energy Transition." There has been a global push towards net zero emissions, with many countries of the world, including Nigeria, pledging towards achieving net zero emissions within the 2060 target. It further called on CSOs to carry out strong advocacy on the subsidy fund and its usage by the government, emphasizing that the revenue from subsidy was meant to be invested in the transition from fossil fuel to clean energy. In our next report, Governor Ahmed Aliyu of Sokoto State has directed the early payment of June salaries to all civil servants across the state beginning Monday to enable them to prepare for the forthcoming Eid el-Kabir festival. The directive, announced in a statement issued on Saturday by the governor's press secretary, Malam Abubakar Bawa, applied to workers at the state and local government levels, including staffers of the Local Government Education Authority and pensioners. According to Bawa, this marks the third time the administration is releasing salaries ahead of schedule to support workers during festive periods. The governor, who is currently in Saudi Arabia for the Hajj pilgrimage, said the gesture was intended to ease financial pressures and enable the civil servants to purchase sacrificial animals and make adequate preparations for the celebrations. And that's all we have on Haske TV News tonight. Stay tuned to our subsequent programs. I am Christiana Babayo. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, my people, have you heard about the new establishment, Jama'a Golden Plate Restaurant? Jama'a Restaurant is quickly becoming the best dining spot in Jalingo. They offer a wide variety of dishes, including tuwon rogo,